What's for dessert? We order up the chocolate milkshake and get 4 straws with co-op video games. On this episode, we're going to talk about our favorite co-op games, what we're currently playing, and what our hopes are for the future of co-op gaming. We got some gripes, we got some things we like, and we got some, some middle of the road things. Let's go ahead and let's start this one off with Nick. Kind of give us kind of rundown on what you're currently playing that's co-op, and then maybe what you got high hopes for, or maybe even your all-time favorite co-op game.
Right now, the biggest game that we're playing as co-op is Valheim on PC. Play that quite often. That's a really great co-op game, really fun to play. And kind of looking forward to the Outriders. We did play the demo or the beta thing they have going on, or demo thing. It's a pretty good game. Unfortunately, it's only a 3-player co-op, which sucks. It seems to be the trend nowadays with a lot of games, especially like even Gears 5, which was a great co-op experience, and the new DLC Hypebusters. That's another one we're playing. Again, unfortunately, that's 3-player co-op, but it is a lot of fun. So, as far as co-op game goes, the one that I'm looking forward to the most, besides kind of Outriders, is Back 4 Blood. I think that's the biggest co-op, 4-player co-op game that I know of that's coming out sometime this year, I believe, that I'm really looking forward to. I love Left 4 Dead, and it's made by the same developers that made Left 4 Dead back in the day, so I'm really excited to see that game and how that turns out. But so that's my most anticipated game currently, but right now, really just kind of investing a lot of time in Valheim. Shane, what about you, man? What are you doing co-op?
Oh God! Well, what I'm doing in co-op is what you guys are doing in co-op. Really, the Valhalla finally got a new PC. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I can actually play a PC game now without the sound of my PlayStation coming from the PC. But Valhalla is interesting. I haven't played PC games for a while. My PC's been pretty crap, so I'm breaking back into it. Gears is always fun. I mean, Gears is definitely a fun co-op game. Always has been. God willing, they never changed that formula. Man, there's so many games out that I'm looking forward to. It Takes Two is looking really good. I love the company. I love the storytelling they do. And this one looks like it's going to be fantastic. It's a 2-player co-op, but which it works out because, the 4 of us can split up like we typically would on this. Back 4 Blood. Oh, man, cannot wait for that one. That just nostalgia written all over it. And Halo Infinite. I don't know what the co-op's going to be on that one yet. If it's just going to be a 2-player. It's going to be 4-player. Don't know. But I'm really excited for it as well. What about you, Russ? What do you think? What do you look forward?
Well, I mean, looking forward, of course, we've all said, Back 4 Blood. I really agree with both of you on that. It Takes Two. That does look kind of cool. The more that I watch some of those videos, it does sound and look like a really good game. Hopefully, Infinite will be more, at least a little bit longer than 5 was. The last one was that. I think that took us a night to finish, and it was very uneventful. But we hope for that. I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to those games there. I mean, there's really not anything else on the horizon, just yet. Some of my favorite co-op games, I mean, Dying Light, Ghost of Tsushima, I mean, those things are just fantastic. I can't wait for Dying Light 2. I mean, I guess that's another a game that I'm anticipating is Dying Light 2. I'm really excited about that. That was a lot of fun. There's so many out there. I don't want to get going too far because we're going to have some more discussion here in a moment. But those there are probably the most anticipated. Currently, kind of playing Valheim with you guys, and then we played some Deep Rock Galactic the dwarf mining stuff. We played a little bit of that as well. That game there is just pure fun. I mean, what's not fun about dwarves running around in caves digging up crap? So that's a lot of fun. But Patrick, what about you, man? What do you got on the horizon, or what you playing?
Yep, I would agree. Mostly right now, we are playing Valheim on the PC, especially now that Shane got himself a new computer. We can all kind of play together. And, Valheim lets up to 10 people, 10 Vikings play together. So that would be interesting. Mostly, we've been running around playing and building up. And it's one of those early access games. So it's not fully released, but it doesn't feel like early access. It feels like there's a lot to this game already. As far as looking forward to games, I would agree. I am highly looking forward to Back 4 Blood because we're just lacking in 4-player co-op games right now. And as you've probably heard listening to this, is that there's a trend of 3-player co-op games going around. I don't get that trend. Me and Russ have played a lot of the zombie survival game. Which one was that one?
Dying Light.
Dying Light, yeah. And so there's a second one coming out, so I'm sure we'll put a lot of time into that one. Those typically aren't my type of games. I'm not a big parkour horror game fan, but we had a lot of fun with that one. It was Russ and I played quite a bit. It was one of those things where Russ had to do a lot of convincing to get me to go out at night in that game. So it was more like Russ was go out at night and be like, "Hey, I need help. I'm stuck, and I just can't leave him out there." So I would run screaming like a little girl to catch up with Russ, so I could help him clear out the area and we can run back. But co-op games, they're kind of, I don't know, we're kind of in a slump, I would say, with co-op games. I don't know if you guys would agree or not, but I mean, we go from playing like a co-op game forever. I mean, like we wring those things dry of content and then move on. I mean, as Russ mentioned, we were playing Deep Rock Galactic. And before that one, we were playing Rainbow Six Siege mostly when it was just all of us. And then, we ran into a smattering of 3-player ones like Gears. We played a lot of Gears, but that means only 3 of us get to play at a time, So it's kind of weird. And I don't understand the concept of why there's 3-player co-op. I understand 2-player co-op, because it's co-op, it's you and another person. But I don't understand in this day and age why we have 3-player co-op and only couch co-op games. Couch co-op honestly doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? 3-player co-op and couch co-op just doesn't make sense.
The couch co-op, I still enjoy. It's fun to get on there with one of my kids or the wife. Some Battletoads, Streets of Rage or something like that. That's fun. But the 3-player co-op games is ridiculous. 2 or 4 or 6, make it an even damn number. It's really stupid. It makes no sense for a 3-player co-op game, especially when your 90% of your situations in those 3-player co-op games is you 2 buddies are running around and then you have an AI. Almost always have an AI. It's silly, but
how hard is it that if there was a couch co-op game to make it multiplayer? I mean, I feel like in today's day and age and the technology, it's not too difficult and not too hard to put, a little bit of effort in. If you have couch co-op, that you're going to end up with online ability too. I mean, it seems, even at the side scrollers, I mean, they've been doing that for years. So, one lag's behind, well, you get pushed forward or whatever. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Cuphead is a good example of that. Sorry, Cuphead was a good example because when they were talking about the initial release, they were saying if it does well enough, and I believe it was you, Nick, who told me that, they were going to do an online co-op because it has the couch co-op. And it's a great game. It's just a fun game. Hard as hell, but great game. And they never did bring it online. And it's saddening.
Right. Well, and you mentioned Streets of Rage. I mean, Streets of Rage 4 allows you to play online together. It's not just couch co-op. I just don't understand why you would make a game exclusively couch co-op, like Battletoads or something like that. That just doesn't make sense to me. Some games I can understand a little bit of it. I mean, like, if you think of Cuphead, if you have any latency or lag issues in that type of game, you're done for. That'd be like playing Super Contra online. You'd be like, I didn't see that bullet because it lagged out, or something. So, I don't know. The couch co-op doesn't seem to be, it doesn't seem to make sense to me. Just make it online multiplayer for the most part. And then the 3-player, who knows why they do that. I don't know. Maybe all the developers have that third wheel friend. I don't know.
Well, it's like It's like Outriders. Like, the thing I don't understand about that game is 3-player online, except for they have 4 classes you can choose from.
Yep.
So it's like, well, then why can't we have 4 people? Because Destiny should also be 4-player online, but I understand they have 3 classes, and so you have 3 characters, right? So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But Outriders has 4 classes, but you can only play as 3 characters. So that's a little odd, as far as why the choices they make for 3 versus 4, or even 2 versus 4 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that odd numbering of co-op, online co-op it's just a weird design decision. I don't know.
We need to get Harvard in
why they
there
do that.
and do a survey. That's what we need to do. Harvard needs to do like a survey and find out how many players actually play co-op. What's
Right.
the number?
What's the actual number?
Right. I think we've discussed this before, but gamers are usually most of the time. Most of the people that I know, they're gamers, are paired up. I mean,
Yeah.
when you meet a gamer, they usually have another friend they play a lot of games with. So like when it was me and Russ, and then it was Nick and Shane, and then when Nick and I started hanging out, we just our little twosome turned into a foursome type gameplay. So we all ended up playing together, and now it's like, okay, so what do we do when there's a 3-player co-op game? We end up having to wait till somebody has something they're doing, because we almost always all get on at the same time. So we're all like, hey, let's get on and do something. And I would say 80 to 90% of the time, all 4 of us can get on and play a little something. But that 10 to 20% of the time it can't. That's when we try to squeeze in those 3-player games, which means we don't play them that often because of that. I mean, we've been trying to play Hive Busters for how long, Nick? I mean, since it came out, and we've just recently got to play it. Yeah, we've just recently got to play it because of that. And, so it doesn't make a whole lot
Russ
of sense.
that ends up missing out, because Russ is the one that ends up making plans. So
it's Russ or Shane. It's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I've got too much of a life, and Russ has got too much freedom.
so that's what ends up happening. And me and Nick just play it a lot. That's just what ends up happening. We end up going, hey, what really sucks is that when it's just the 2 of us, and we do try to play some of those 3-player co-ops with just 2 of us. I mean, Remnant from Ashes was one of those. I think it only allows 3 players, right? Yeah. And you and I played that game, just the 2 of us from start to finish, and then we looped in Shane to try to beat the game with Shane, but the game decided that 3 players was too OP, and it threw the book at us. It threw the book at us.
Yeah, and then I tried to play that one on my own, and I got a little places, but I didn't. I mean, there was some really difficult boss fights and stuff that were it was just too much just for one player.
That's a good point about cooperative games is you can tell when a game is designed for cooperative play. Remnant is a perfect example. I mean, that game is designed for cooperative play. I mean, it's designed for you and your friends to come in there and take on these challenges together. Because, it adjusts and scales and everything. The developers for It Takes Two, their last 2 games, you could not play by yourself. You had to have a cooperative person. That's the way they want their games, and that's great. They really cherish that cooperative play, and I want to see more games that are designed for cooperative play, not just thrown together.
So define
and Way Out was great.
Way Out was fantastic.
I don't know. I didn't get to finish that one.
Except for the only problem I had with that one was the wiener in the prison scene. That was just
that was your favorite part.
All right, it's my background on my phone.
I think that's what caused Russ to quit. That's why we never finished that one.
I don't even remember what happened. I think we were moving. I'll take some blame, but I think that's when we were moving.
I think that was around the time you guys did.
So I think that was a little bit of that, but I don't really remember exactly. What do you guys think? Like, when we talk about co-op games, I mean, one of the things we like with co-op games is stories. I mean, stories along with the co-op. So, like, what's the difference to you guys with a co-op game or a story co-op game in, like, Destiny, Division 2, stuff like that, Division and Division 2? Like, what do you guys feel like? Do you think there's a difference, or is that co-op, or is that an MMO?
I think there's a big difference for, let's say, Destiny as an example. I don't think, Destiny's not really a good example, because Destiny to me doesn't have a good story. It doesn't have a comprehensible story that really works.
We've had this
and we
argument
have
already.
It's got a great story.
But that's the thing I disagree. But here's the thing: though. A cooperative game typically does take away from story because you're playing with your friend, and a lot of times you're having too much fun to even pay attention to the story. A game like A Way Out, now that had a fantastic story that I never seemed to lose place in. But a game like Destiny or Division, all I know is I'm having a great time running around and shooting stuff with my buddies. Yeah, something bad happened, people get sick, blah blah blah. Look, a new shiny gun. That's to me the story of it. But you can tell when a game pieces together, co-op or multiplayer even, and when one actually builds it from the ground up.
Well, I guess that I would agree to some extent. I mean, for the most part, when we play co-op games, we end up just pushing each other along the storyline. And how much attention do you actually pay? I mean, perfect example is Shane and Nick. We've just played Outriders. Do you guys know what the story's about outside of just the very basics?
Yes.
Storm.
And
Right.
there was green stuff. No, there was black stuff. And somebody went to sleep for a long time.
Right. Yep. So all we remember doing was just playing this game and getting new abilities and new weapons and new armor and stuff like that. And that's what and I would consider them like loot shooters is what I consider them. Even Destiny and Division, those are loot shooters. They have MMO components, but they're like MMO light. I mean, to some extent. But I don't know. I mean, the skill tree in Outriders was like massively insane looking. So I don't know how that's gonna maybe it's gonna be different.
Like 2 points to put towards it too. So
Right. But also, you don't see other people while you're in your game. Like, you only see the people that are in your party. So we didn't run into other players playing the game. So that's even less of than Division and Destiny. Destiny 2, you see players all over the place. Division, you only see other players in the dark zones. And in this Outriders, I didn't see a single player. So you don't see players in the world at all. So it's very much, we made the comment. I made the comment, and Shane made the comment. And Nick doesn't like this comment, but Outriders is very Anthem-like without Jaegers.
Yeah.
It's very Anthem-like without Jaegers.
It really is.
It reminds me of Anthem. I mean, it just looks more expanded than Anthem. So, when that game comes out, we'll definitely all be playing it to get a feel for that. But I would probably agree with Russ on some of that stuff. I think that you lose story in a co-op game. That's not a co-op shooter game because you talk about A Way Out. A Way Out's like they're two brothers, right? And they get sent to jail, or two brothers, two friends, or whatever, and they get sent to jail, and they got to work their way to get out, and that's the start of the story, and it goes further on. And then It Takes Two is going to be very much story focused, so as well. I think there's a difference.
What about Halo, and like Gears? Like, I feel like when we did those, I thought I followed the storyline pretty well on those two games. Those are not really loot shooters. I mean, but they're at the same time, it's a little bit. I agree. I mean, why I asked the question was because there's a significant difference between a co-op game and a play with your friends MMO almost. I mean, like, not really. It's not an MMO, although it is an MMO because they can't do a true up. I mean, they have true up in MMOs for console, but they're garbage. I mean, Neverwinter and what is it, Bless Unleashed and stuff like that. I mean, those are true MMOs, but they're just garbage. I mean, they're horrible games. Yeah. And sorry if I offended somebody by that, but they're garbage. They're horrible. They're not meant to play. Yeah, they're not meant to play on the console.
They're super MMO light. But yeah, I would say, because take an example of. Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that right there falls into the fact that when they originally built Gears, even to now, the way they focus the story with the cooperative play, I think is hand in hand, and it's not like Destiny and all them where it just doesn't seem like they focus the two together. And I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly, but it's two different things being pushed together instead of being built together from the ground up. Because if you look at Gears 1, I can tell you now, I remember that story fairly well for as long as it's been back, and me and Nick played the crap out of it, and I'm sure Nick remembers too. And it's just it was built that way.
Right.
not thrown together.
Well, there's also, you have to think about it, like Gears and Halo are story driven co-op games. They're not
Yeah.
they're not even in the same they're not even in the same genre of games as Destiny and Division and even Anthem and the one Outriders we just played. I mean, those last 4 games are loot shooters. They're MMO lights, in my opinion. They're gear driven games where you're out for that next big piece. You're not really paying a whole lot of attention to the story. It's like you're being, I don't know, maybe groups are different, but in our group, we end up pushing stuff quicker. We end up pushing the story, pushing the game. Outriders is a perfect example. Nick was like skipping the story. He's like, I see the check box come up, be like, somebody wants to skip the story, and I'm like, oh, look at that. Nick's already pushed the button. He's ready to get out of here and just go on to the next zone. And that's just what ends up happening when you play as a group.
Yeah.
It's nothing. But that's most, I would imagine that's most group dynamics. It's like, hurry up and get out of this cutscene so I can check out that new gun or that new piece of armor I got, you know?
Yeah, if
Most
you look
games
at
like
our group,
that.
if you look at our group, Nick is the one in front every time. Of every situation we're in, Nick is always in front. That's just that's who he is when he plays.
It depends on the game, though, too. You know, like, well, as far as like wanting to skip ahead and stuff, Outriders, you know, is much like Destiny, where it is that MMO light, that loot shooter. You know, I want to get the next piece of armor and the next piece, the next gun and the next this, and level up and stuff like that. That's really what I want out of it. Where the story I'm not too concerned about. Or a game like Gears, when we were playing Hivebusters, you know, there is no new piece of armor or new weapons or anything like that. So we're just going through the level, but I know exactly what's going on in the story, right? So when those cutscenes come up, I am interested in seeing what's going to happen and everything. Plus, Gears has some really beautiful cutscenes, so so I am interested in that. And then same thing with Halo and stuff, and games like Destiny, I play more. You know, I don't play those. You know, Gears and Halo, I play more for the story and the co-op experience with my friends. Whereas Destiny and games like that, like Division and stuff, I really just want to go out there and have fun and kill things with my friends in there. And not, I'm not really concerned about the story. The story is kind of secondhand compared to just going out there and looting and doing stuff like that, dungeons and stuff.
So that's I'm so glad you guys went this way, because I was actually hoping that we would kind of mold into this, because it brings me to my point. There really are very few select co-op games. We could use a lot more true co-op games. It's like maybe 1, maybe 2 a year true co-op games, and then there's expansions or extensions of those MMO lights that we have that you know, it's just like, in a world of technology that we have, it's just so strange that we don't have at least 1 or 2 major titles every year that get released. I mean, we had Gears 5 last year. That was early last year, right? Gears 5 was early last year. Or was that even 2019? It seems like that was a little while ago.
That was before then. I think it was 2018 that came out.
Yeah. So like we're looking, I mean, but they had like an expansion or something like that probably came along with it at some point, you know, and so there you go. There you have it right there. I mean, just that principle, it's really unfortunate.
It was 2019. It was September 2019.
So, you know, there we go right there. I mean, it's just a pretty good, you know, proof of concept or proof of theory for me that, you know, we're really missing a lot of great co-op games that have great stories. I mean, thank God for things like Destiny 2 and Division 2 every now and again, because at least it'll keep us busy in the interim. But I mean, we could really use, I mean, Ghost of Tsushima was a great thing. You know, it was like we all had a great single player experience with that, and then they released the multiplayer almost perfect timing. I mean, it just, and we got some good usage out of that, but then we end up having to lean on games like Killing Floor 2 and stuff like that to kind of get us through between, I mean, or Siege or something like that, which again, yes, they are co-op, but they're not what we're starving for as players.
I mean, we as a group even just try to find random co-op games. I mean, who spends a whole weekend playing Overcooked 2 with their buddies, you know? I mean, we were so hard up for an MMO. We were like, let's load up. I don't even know how far we got, but we got really far in Overcooked 2, and we're like, okay. But, we come back to things like Sea of Thieves every now and then, and but those are, I would probably put co-op into, like you said, Russ, I would probably put them into two major groups. You know, you got your story-driven, non-RPG element co-op games, and then you have your RPG element co-ops, which is just not really story-driven. It's just like, let's go kill stuff so I can level up and get the next best thing that I can find, you know? But as a group, and we've mentioned this before, we can take a really crappy MMO and turn it into a good game. You know, I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we do it with all kinds of games. Because, I mean, I'm not going to play Deep Rock Galactic by myself. Not that it's a bad game. It's just, it's kind of meh, you know? But together as a group, super fun. Super fun.
It is meant to be played for fun with friends. It's
right.
Yeah. You know, is there a deep compelling story about these poor fellers having to mine all this crap and fight off the bugs?
Right.
No, I
work for the man.
I don't remember crap. I mean, the only story you get is when you're kicking those buckets into the drill hole. I mean,
well, you know, I mean, as a whole, we're pressing A as fast as we can to get through the story anyway on a game like that. So even if there was a story, we wouldn't know.
That is true. I mean, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, we play so many things like Borderlands and stuff like that. I mean, we all play Borderlands together. I'm not sure our group is a big fan. I mean, I'm a big fan. I know Nick's a big fan of like Divinity and Divinity Original Sin and stuff like that. That has co-op in it, but I don't think our group has.
For me with you guys.
I don't think our group has the
never
patience for that together.
I mean, that's the biggest problem. I mean, that game is actually a pretty intriguing game, but like at
really
some point, the RP is so heavy that it's like, I mean, I am. If we're starting to play at say 9, 10 o'clock at night, and we're not even getting into the thick of it until 11:30, I'm dozing off. I hate to say it. I mean, not that it's not a great story. It's a solid story to me, but it's not. I don't know. Like, for example, 13 Sentinels. I was awake. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening next? Those other games, it's like, okay, Mystic Ruin and the Wizard is the lifeblood of
14
life.
Parchments or whatever?
Yeah. Oh man, that was
that game. Oh crap! I totally forgot about that. My headache hurts again.
Yeah, that one was mechanics more than anything. That game was terrible. Game mechanics.
It was
but like,
well, it was designed to make you work more as a team. You need to cross the streams and make more powerful streams and stuff. And we just, as a group, I mean, we coordinate, but we don't coordinate that well together.
Yeah, well, with a game like that, I don't know. I think there was too many flaws with that game to make it really work like they wanted. But some games just really benefit from cooperative play, and some games they hurt from it. Resident Evil 5, I bring this up. I love playing that thing with a friend. Never have touched it by myself. It's just not fun. But cooperatively,
sounds like a cruel joke in itself.
It does. It does. And it is a lot like life. It's funner with a friend. It really is.
Well, I mean, well, you have.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Nick and me, we have a video of us spending, I don't know, 45 minutes on Resident Evil 6 co-op playing on the playground slide.
Well, that's
stupid fun.
I mean, that's what we have a tendency of doing. I mean, we have a tendency of screwing off more than actually playing some of these games. Like, we brought this up before, but Wetlands, or Wildlands. Oh, yeah. If you're in our group of friends, we call it Wetlands. But we end up playing for like 1 or 2 missions in that game, and then we screw off for the next hour. We end up going and just doing random stupid stuff, trying to run the other ones over with the car, or throwing C4 on the helicopter, and everybody bailing out except for Shane because he doesn't know what's going on until it's too late, Yeah.
Or Patrick and Russ are trying to line up shots, and Nick's in the middle of the encampment just grabbing everybody and running around.
Just running guns.
Like, I'm dead on the east side. Come get me. And we're like, okay, we're going to come get you.
Rambo it.
Yeah.
Right? Nick just Rambos it. We're like, we're going to go in stealth and all quiet, and we're going to put a beat on these, and we're going to try to do what we do with the NPCs where we line up the multi-shot. All right, I got 4 shots lined up. And there goes Nick Leroy Jenkins right in the group.
Yeah.
Leroy,
I'm just two assault rifles in each hand, shooting
Yeah.
at the sky.
Chasing them around as they're running away.
Yeah.
But that also
Thinking.
tends to go into another type of thing where we end up. I don't think our group works really well in games that you can hurt each other or kill each other. Whether it's one person, whether it's intentional or not. But just take an example of, I was going to say, like Monster Hunter World. You really can't hurt each other in there, but man, you can screw up rotations in that game. There's nothing like 4 jackals trying to hit the head of a dinosaur and just getting beating the crap out of each other. And it's not hurting you, but it's interrupting your sword swings or your hammer swings or whatever weapon you're using.
Yeah, I think I got to the point where I was like, sorry.
So let's get to the point where he kept propelling me up into the sky constantly. But it did work out in some instances because I just come down with my sword and end up chopping the tail off or something because he knocked me up and over the dinosaur. And I'm like, here I come.
Of course,
there's nothing.
I grabbed the wrong. That was the most complicated freaking thing, but I loved it for some reason.
Right. Yeah. Every if you never played Monster Hunter World and you play with friends, every weapon has its own build up. It's not just like. Everything's not just like hitting one hit and done. It's like you're building combos, and if your combo gets interrupted, it restarts the whole cycle again. So, but like I said, there's nothing like 4 people trying to hit the head of a downed dinosaur, the head of a downed creature, and you're like, stop hitting me, I can't get my rotation started. And the next thing you know, somebody's flying in the air. You're like, oh, somebody got hit by somebody's end combo.
When you say somebody, it's Nick.
Yeah.
Most of the time, yeah.
Nick does get it. Yeah.
I would like to see us all play GTFO. I would like to see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna gift that one to Shane so he can play it. That one's gonna be fun because me and Nick played that one together, and that's the wrong kind of game for me because Nick's like, hey, let's go in this room. I just opened this door. I'm like, but it's dark. I can't see in there. And Nick's like, he starts the event, and I'm like, it's either stay outside of the door by myself or go in there with Nick. And it ends up being I wait for the door to almost be closed, and I run in there screaming and shooting my gun. I think isn't there friendly fire in that game? I think I may have shot you a couple times or whatever in the dark.
I think there is, but I mean, it's kind of hard to shoot each other, but it is possible. But yeah. I mean, that game you have to. That game's a lot of. That game, the GTFO, is a lot of coordination between your group. You got to really think about how you're going to tackle an objective, or it'll just go south pretty quickly.
Right, because when
you can't go and shoot either.
Right, no, because when you and I played it, we had to take like this cryo thing down an elevator and then take it into this room, and so Nick is running in front, and I'm carrying this thing, and then the first time we go in there, he just shoots this thing, and it like calls everything in the room, and it was just like I'm dropping the cryo chamber with like I think it's an infant or a child or something, and I'm like, oh my god, just shooting at everything, and
I could see that I could see that podcast on the review of GTFO, right. And it's going to be, hey everybody, it's us. We're here to talk about GTFO. It went sideways.
It went south very quickly.
Yeah, it went south very, very quickly, and that's the end of the podcast.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and that one will be fun. I think that will be really fun as a group. Like I said, me and Nick have already played it a little bit, but we got to. It's really difficult with just 2 players.
It is very difficult. Yeah, I think 4 players would be a lot easier. Not that you couldn't do it with 2. It's just hard.
Does it have Does it have a player difficulty adjustment though? More players, more. I
don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just difficult. Yeah. It's coordination. Yeah. But yeah, it was one of those things where we ran in one where we were trying to get into another room, and like you got to go on all the way to the other end of this room, and it's dark. It's freaking dark, and sometimes there's creatures in there, sometimes not, and you got to go start the door opening sequence at one end and run to the other end of the room and wait for the door to open while stuff just flies in. Well, you're also trying to protect like this cryopod thing that we had with us, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, but you can get different stuff too. Like I think Patrick, you had the sentry guns, so you would set up 2 sentries, which that was also a problem because if you set it up within the path of where we were standing, the sentries would shoot the enemy, but end up shooting us because we're right in the center. So we had to make sure that because it shows like a laser grid of where it's going to shoot, and so you got to set up your sentry so it's not going to be in the path of anybody, and then all these landmines put down and stuff.
But yeah, so I think that our group doesn't tend to do well sometimes in those games because we're all a little bit, alpha male-ish in that sense. Like I said, Monster Hunter World's a perfect example where all 4 of us are trying to beat the crap out of the head of the creature because that's its weak spot. It's down. There's 4 jackholes at the head of this thing swinging their big hammers and swords and weapons and lances around and just trying to hit this thing. And nobody wants to relent. Nobody wants to give up and just back off and go to the tail or the back. Everybody's beating on the head, So, but yeah, I mean, and that's a game that's coming up with they're getting ready to come out with a Switch, Monster Hunter World Rise, which is another anticipated one that we'll probably end up playing.
I think I'm really excited for that as long as they fix the we cannot, interrupt each other part so we can all hit the head because
that's never going to get fixed. That's a mechanic of the game.
Yeah, I think so.
It is hard.
I did play the demo a little bit. It's pretty good. You can actually one of the cool things in the demo is you can kind of use this like net or harpoon or something like that on the dinosaurs, and then if you snag them, you can actually ride them. You can ride them around the area and stuff.
Can you fight with them? Can you use them like your battle?
Yeah.
He's like, you're riding on the back and fighting
playing
with
like Golden Axe,
That's what I was about to say. So like Golden Axe.
Yeah, you can battle with them and stuff, and they jump real high.
Look, I really don't want to discuss any old games right now. I've got a lot of anger towards older games right now because of something that we're currently working on.
Oh,
and so we're not going to discuss older games.
I forgot. Nick, he's mad at you.
Yeah. We'll get through it.
But then you think about think about co-op games that don't work. I mean, the biggest one that always comes to mind when you think of a co-op game that doesn't work is State of Decay 2. Who came up with that co-op model? I mean, if anybody's played co-op in State of Decay 2, only the host story progresses. And really, it's really hard for anybody that's not the host to do anything in that game. The host is the only one that can start things, that can do things. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you play that game. You put so much time in as a group of friends, and then you pop out into your own game, and there's like no progress. You're like, well, this is kind of stupid. So,
and it's unfortunate for that game too, because that game's a lot of fun.
It is.
I didn't like the co-op because of what you said, Pat, and so I ended up playing the game just by myself, and I beat the game like 3 or 4 times because as you cycle through it, it reduces. You can go to the different areas and progress all your stuff over. So, I beat it like 3 or 4 times, and I loved it. And I loved playing through it, but it was just like I really wish I could play with my friends, but it's just so uneven to play with your friends. There's no point.
It's a point. Yeah, it's a pointless gesture. I mean, if one's level, high level, and the other one just needs a little help, that's okay. But nobody gets, only the host is getting anything out of it. It's
right, the host is the only one progressing their story. And that's really bad because I love State of Decay. The first one was amazing. The second one was great. And then there's also, we're already being told there's a third State of Decay.
Yep.
So hopefully the developers listen because we weren't the only ones that had that complaint about that game. So hopefully they listened and you can run a simultaneous story together in that game because State of Decay 3, they better fix that. I mean, it's a great game, but really amazing to build a fort in a compound with your buddies though.
Yeah. Another good example of bad example of co-op would be Dead Space 3 when they introduced the cooperative play. Dead Space is a creepy horror game, and what did they do? They gave you a reason to goof off with your buddy and take away the fear. And the fear is what made that game so great. Me and Nick got into it, and I was never scared. I mean, I was more scared of Nick than playing with Nick.
Yeah, a game like Dead Space, which was always a single-player experience, needed to just stay that way. It didn't need co-op. It actually, co-op made it worse because when you were playing that game single-player, just like Shane said, you were scared because you got the enemies popping in everywhere. But when you're playing with a friend, it's like all that just goes away. And so now you're just going through shooting stuff. And you don't really care,
Turned it into another action game at that point.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think there's even a worse experience out there than that. More maybe for us as a group, actually as a foursome, was Final Fantasy 15. That co-op experience with that game, or what wasn't.
The co-op experience was amazing when it worked.
It was, exactly. I don't think
it ever worked.
It wasn't the design.
Have we ever gotten all
co-op.
4 players in one match?
We did.
I think
once.
we did like one time,
or
twice maybe, where we got.
But it was the most moronic way of setting up a match with people. It was just freaking nonsensical.
Well, when you got done with the match, it would kick everybody out when you had to rejoin.
Yeah.
You know,
And that was the problem
so-
getting the party started together again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, you had to go talk to this person in the middle of the town and then join at exactly the same time, and then hopefully you see your friend's lobby pop up and join in.
Yeah, I gave you like
hopefully
1
all
minute
four
for
players.
everyone to join in before it started. So you're like, hurry up, hit the join button.
Yeah.
I can't, it's not working.
Russ hated it because he was Prompto.
Russ got to play Prompto.
No, I mean
Oh.
the Final Fantasy 15 co-op was great. You could
That
create your
one
own
time,
characters, and when you actually got in with your friends, it was a lot of fun. It was just the execution of that process never seemed to work, except for maybe once.
Maybe once or twice. Yeah, I cannot imagine us doing it more than that. Because I mean, there was so many times where 2 out of the 4 of us would make it in, or
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 of us would make it in, and the 4th one wouldn't. And you're just like, we spent nights, not just like
Yeah.
hours, but nights trying to get
Yep.
into this together on multiple weekend attempts, and just could never make it work.
Yeah. I'd like to check it again one night, just see if they ever got it working.
It's
don't
like
think they-
it's like calling your
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend. I mean, at one point in time, you got to stop calling.
Right? You got to stop Facebook stalking her.
Yeah, just delete, unfriend, be done.
Well, on top of the co-op stuff, let's talk about like what Rainbow Six Siege did to everybody. They came out with this event, the quarantine event. It was 3 players only. It was an amazing event, and was just supposed to be a rotational event in their sequence of events that come along. And they've taken this concept and they're trying to make a full-fledged game out of it, right? I mean, I thought at first it was going to be like a DLC or something, or maybe an add-on for Rainbow Six Siege, but now they're talking about it's its own separate game, right? And it's got its own launch title name and everything. It just hasn't come out yet.
Right.
Remember what the name of it was they were talking about? It changed its name.
Yeah, they changed it to Parasite, so it's
Parasite,
Rainbow
okay.
Six Parasite.
Right.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's interesting.
The Rainbow Six series has always had great cooperative play until they got to Siege. Siege, it never really felt like a great cooperative game. The terrorist hunts and stuff are fun to play with your friends, goof off, blah blah blah. But there was never really a cooperative experience to the new one.
Well, we're
And-
not much of PvPers either. I mean, that's as a whole, we're not a huge. I mean, and that's
exactly.
50% of what that game is PvP. So when you don't do 50% of a game, I mean, I agree with you, Shane. I'm just agreeing with you and disagreeing in
they
the same.
took out the co-op is what they did. And
Yeah.
they took out story,
Mhm.
and they just made a PvP game with
Yeah.
training modes essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did a lot of that. We did a lot of us versus bots, of the
Yeah.
scenarios.
Oh yeah, and that was a great time too. I mean, we didn't get nowhere with the story because there was none, but it was such fun the way they had it done. I mean, we never really paid too much attention.
Well, but I think in that game, a game like that, I think we know what we're getting. We know what we're.
That's true.
We know what we're getting out of that. I think when it comes to things like, I mean, we go to the Halo 5 or something like that. Like here we were really. I was actually excited. I never really played a Halo game, and Patrick's like, dude, it's co-op. Blah blah. I mean, I know there's previous ones that are co-op too, but for me, it was something new. It really felt new. And I think we did it in 2 nights. I say one, but I think it was 2 nights. I think we played maybe 6 hours at most in that game, and we were done with it from start to finish. And it's that stuff that really frustrates me as a gamer. We spent $60 on that game. We got 6 hours out of it. I mean, I don't know. Something like that. I felt like even if they added they could have rewatched a couple of missions or something like that and made it longer.
Yeah, that game was not a great example of what Halo can be.
Yeah.
But just like Rainbow Six Siege is not a great example of what Rainbow Six really is, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
Siege started out as Patriots, and then
Yeah.
that was a whole single player campaign, much like Vegas and Vegas 2. But
Yeah.
then it ended up turning into Siege because I believe they were making this multiplayer mode, and that was what Siege was, and that got so robust that they pretty much got rid of the Patriots part and just said, "Hey, we're just going to do this multiplayer thing."
Well, bring me back Patriots, because Vegas. I
Right.
mean, Vegas is one of my absolute favorite cooperative games. I mean, we played the living hell out of it. I mean, I bought that stupid camera so we could put our faces on the characters and shoot each other.
Well, Vegas even
Shoot
like
each other in the
Vegas,
face.
Vegas 2, even the single player was really good.
Yes,
The
it was.
story was really good.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's a hallmark Tom Clancy. I mean, all those Tom Clancy games are kind of like that. The stories are really, really good, and then they find out, hey, this is a really good shooter-based game. Let's strip it out and make a multiplayer type game out of it. Because most of the Tom Clancy games are based around the story of a book series of his or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, but and that even pushes us even to another kind of genre. I mean, like the MOBAs. I mean, like those are. I think those aren't really co-op either, in my opinion. That's not what this podcast is about. I mean, I'm just kind of letting everybody know, just in case they get into their head, especially our listeners, are like, well, what about Fortnite? What about Modern Warfare? What about Minecraft? What about those? Really, I mean, Minecraft is a co-op, but it's not that's not the essence of what this particular podcast is about. It's those games are very MMO-ish, MOBA-ish, and those don't really qualify for what we're talking about here. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think when I think of cooperative, I think of a progression from 0 to 10 with your friends that complete steps and stories and whatnot. Minecraft or Fortnite is just PvP or PvE or just Minecraft is just building crap with your friends.
I mean, there's story in it.
Minecraft does have a story, and you can finish the game. That's beating the Elder Dragon, so you can.
The regular
progress.
Minecraft actually has a story. I always thought it was just a builder game.
No, your main quest in Minecraft really is to get all the Elder Eyes, or what I think they're called, Elder Eyes or whatever, and you make the portal, which you go to the Nether realm to fight the Elder Dragon. Once you beat that, it actually beats the game. That's the credits roll and all that good stuff. I mean, you can continue playing, but that's the end of it.
Yeah. But it's still, I still don't think that's the essence of what we're talking about, though, either.
Well, I mean, there's multiple types. I mean, you could suggest, co-op means a lot to a lot of players. I mean, to us, co-op means playing together to meet an objective that's not necessarily PvP based, but sometimes that doesn't even really fit the nice PvE title, as you just said, Russ. I mean, because Minecraft is all PvE to some extent. I mean, I should say, and then you can work together to get to the end goal. And then, because that even throws like Valheim into that situation. Valheim is you're working together in a group, building stuff, progressing further to the end game, which is not even in the game yet. But whatever, you're fighting bosses, so you can progress further. But if you think like co-op, because I mean, Dead by Daylight, that's a co-op game, but and you're working through a story, I guess, a subset of stories, and there's a upcoming franchise based it's going to be similar to that. The Evil Dead game is going to be like Dead by Daylight. I don't know if you guys I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead movie, so I'm going to probably check that one out.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what was happening with that one. I was just excited that
I thought they were doing like a top-down twin stick shooter with it. Is that not?
No.
It's supposed to be very similar to Dead by Daylight.
Yeah. There was a trailer that just put out showing off Pablo from the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's multiple levels. I mean, because if would you consider an MMO co-op? I mean, it's cooperative with your friends if all you do is dungeon crawling, But if you PvP, it's
but you have a story built into that, though.
I mean, it's cooperative, but it's not the essence of what we're discussing today. I mean, I think that's the difference in it. And that's why I brought those titles up, was because League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, all those games there. I mean, they're just they're cooperative, but it's not what we're talking. I don't think it's the essence of what we're talking about today.
Right now, we're mostly talking about just like things that aren't like competitive play, things that are non-competitive play. But because what we're expecting out this year, we're also expecting Skull and Bones, the game that kind of Ubisoft was pushing out, the pirate game that basically disappeared. Well, it's kind of back in the forefront, and Ubisoft was saying that it's supposed to come out this year. It kind of disappeared. We saw it I think we saw it at E3 in like 2019, I think. And
it was before that.
A while back.
I thought it was 18. I was going to picture 18.
I think it was like the year of or year following the release of Sea of Thieves.
Well,
Oh.
it was actually, I think it was introduced with Sea of Thieves. Like it was the same E3,
Same
and then
E3,
yeah, because
And that
me
might
and
be right because
me
I
and
know they
Patrick
were
were
like
wow,
really
that
close.
looks cool. Yeah, the
Right.
Skull and
Yeah, it's supposed
Bones,
to be
like fingers
Black Flag.
crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like Black Flag style, but yeah, stuff like that. And then I don't know if anybody ever played the Outlast games, but Outlast is coming out with a cooperative game called Outlast Trials. So Outlast, horror survival game again. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of horror survival by myself, but maybe cooperative it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like wetting yourself with your friends.
Right, exactly. I mean, we all got that in Phantasmophobia.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Phasmophobia, not phantasmophobia. That's a '80s movie.
Phantasmagoria is what I always want to say when I say that Phasmophobia title. That old point and click adventure game.
I think you did that when we did the review on it too. You kept
Probably.
calling it that.
Phantasmagoria.
But right
Skull
there,
and
It can't be as bad
Bones-
as Valhalla.
Skull and Bones was first showing off in 2017.
Holy,
Yeah, see?
that's 4
Bless.
years ago.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
Crazy.
but what
Jeez.
you were talking about there with Phasmophobia is what can make a game great, and make a game other people won't typically play great because it's with a friend, and that game still scared the crap out of you, even with your buddies next to you, because of the ambiance and the way they did everything. I mean, I've got stage.
yeah.
That game is good.
When the specter or whatever it is can kill you with your buddy standing right next to you, they can't do jack when you know.
Oh yeah,
I think I
was the
died
first one
laughing.
I think I was the first one to die, and I didn't know what the hell to do. It's got me, and you guys are just running in circles, literally flashlights. Where is it? And here I am. Just,
That game kills me. I think I watched the clip of us playing that game probably 1,000 times because all you can hear is Russ in the back, like, "Oh shit, it's here, it's here." I mean, it was just, that game,
Right.
yeah.
we'll have to play that one again just because I
Yeah.
got my new.
But
computer.
yeah, I think there'll be stuff like that. There'll be state of plays we'll end up having to do because it's going to just get better and better, and then obviously I think when it does when it becomes out of alpha and goes into full release, we'll end up having to check out what their end game was and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But
Another one's coming out this year is Hood. You guys remember that one? We saw that
Hood,
one.
the
at,
Robin
you know,
Hood game.
Yeah.
Outlaws and
Isn't it a
Legends.
3-player or is that one actually a 4-player?
I think that one was 3 as well.
I think that
Yeah, it
was
may have been.
3.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that whole curse of the 3-player co-op thing. I don't know what's going on with that.
Mm-hmm. One of us is going to have to get the coronavirus.
I
I
guess
guess
they-
so we can all, we won't feel bad playing without.
Hell, if you
but
have
that one's
Rona,
coming
you should
out
be able
here
to play
soon.
more.
In May. I think that one's coming out in May.
Yeah.
So, and that one's, I don't know. I'm kind of holding out a little bit of enthusiasm for it because it's only a $30 game. And that kind of worries me a little bit when a game's only $30. Like, is it just straight PvP, no PvE at all? So if it's straight PvP, we probably won't get too much time into it,
Yeah.
Yeah, that does. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of just maybe it's because I'm old too. You buy a game, you get your story part, you get your multiplayer part. That's just me. I just think it's stupid just to have a straight PvP. PvP game. I think you should always have some sort of a story game into it myself.
I mean,
But
I'm
that's
afraid
just
this
me.
is going to. Yeah, I'm afraid this is going to turn out like For Honor. I mean, For Honor was fun in the beginning, but it
Yeah,
got boring really
Yeah.
quick.
Honestly, I was surprised you even liked For Honor because you're not a PvP guy. But
Right.
we played a lot of it for a short amount of time.
It was a PvP game, but it's not a Twitch skill PvP game. There's a lot of strategy involved in
Yes.
that one where you have abilities and skills to counter the different classes and stuff like that. You just have to know what class you're going up against so that you can counter their moves and abilities. You got your big strong guys who are slow moving, but if they hit you, you're done. You got your quick movers who are super quick but they can't take a hit. So I like that aspect, but it got to the point to where you're not just going to run in there and just slice and dice and get out. It's like you go in and you lock up with somebody else and you fight 'em. But it also had lots. It also had what we play a lot of, which is us versus bots.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's another one of those examples of a siege, Rainbow Six Siege kind of game. Like, it would be nice to have that, like, a story behind that, and like going to do raids or something, like you're trying to take over the King of England or something. I don't know. I mean, something that would be really
Right.
That would be really neat.
Yeah, but that's something Ubisoft has really been getting away from. It seems like is really story-driven games. I mean, even
everybody is now.
Even their Ghost Recons have really just developed into a PvP situation.
Man, I don't know. I think I disagree a little bit with that, Shane. I mean, even those games, a lot of them had some fairly decent stories, at least starts of the story. I mean, Immortals had a good, fun story. Odyssey had a good story. Valhalla has a good story.
I did forget Odyssey. That game was fantastic.
Yeah. So, I get what you're saying. I mean, I thought that both Ghostlands and whatever it was, Wetlands, whatever the last one was. Yeah, I can't remember it. But those two there's like, I mean, Ghostlands, that one there was, we played a lot of that one, the one previous. I mean, and there was a decent story, and I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but there was a decent. I mean, you got to know who the drug cartel was, and I mean,
that was, literally, I found out who we're going after.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I mean,
a car. Let's drive it up the hill. But that's one of those games where the co-op is just, it's so fun to just be stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I'm just saying, like, I see what your point was in with that, but I also slightly disagree in the sense of, like, I feel like some of those stories that Ubisoft come out with are fairly, at least they're more substantial than, the Galactic Mining game and Killing Floor 2. Yeah. I mean,
well,
but I would put those in a different genre, though.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Hood is going to be very much like Hunt. From what I read and looked into it, it's basically 2 teams of 4 going after the same objective. So that's Hunt, but Hunt was 3 players. So you had 2 teams of 3 players going after the same objective, and the one team could take out the other team if they came upon them while they were trying to kill. In Hunt, you were trying to kill a supernatural creature. So, and there'd be plenty of times where we were playing and we would try to be like stealthy, go in there and figure out if the other team has came in and killed the creature yet, because you can tell when they kill the creature, or if they're waiting for us to go in and they'll ambush us. And that's what I feel that this game is going to be. Hood will be another one of those 4-player ambush tactic games where you go in to try to steal a treasure or take out a monarch or something like that. Whatever you're doing in Hood, because you're an outlaw, and the other team is just going to be waiting in the wings for you to come in and start the event, and then just kill you and then go. Because that's what Hunt turned into be. People were just...
It did.
And I didn't like that, It was who could get out with the treasure the first. And that's what Hood...
Who's the developer of Hood? Nick, do you know?
Hood is... it's
no idea.
Sumo Digital. Sumo Digital is them. And it's being published by Focus Home Interactive.
Sumo Digital. That name sounds familiar, but I can't register what
they do. A lot of... typically, they do a lot of... they do have their own games, but they do a lot of... re-releases and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of things where they're not like remakes or anything like if they're transitioning a game over to a different platform, they do a lot of that stuff. I've seen they do have some of their own games. I don't think they're really that big, and this might be their most ambitious title.
Yeah, got to start somewhere.
Maybe.
And how many games have we played from a small developer, or somebody we've never even really heard of that have turned out to be really well? Or turned out to be garbage.
I mean, we play some pretty off the wall stuff sometimes. I mean, Nick, how much Farming Simulator did you and I play?
A lot.
I mean, we had farms. We were buying them land. We were, spending hours just harvesting fields and driving trucks that delivered. I mean, we like playing games together, and that's what it is. I mean, we play a lot of stuff together, and we want to play together. So we'll play some off the wall stuff so we can play together.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just maybe one more last little mention, like Grounded, like y'all played a lot of that. I mean, I've tried to get in there and play a little bit of it. I'm just a little bit farther behind on it, but at the same time, it's a wonderful concept of a game for sure.
Yeah, Grounded is definitely a bonding game with your buddies, just doing silly crap, having fun.
And you find out which one of your friends has a fear of spiders.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was the other one we played, Nick, that you found that was it kind of wasn't similar. It was similar, but not really. It was an early access game that you got us all playing, the Holler game, where you kind of skate something Holler. It's something in the Hollow or something, whatever, where you can skate across the
Drake
lines.
Hollow or something
Drake
like
Hollow,
that.
yeah.
Hollow Drake.
We never did come back to that one after we got the
No, it
preview.
came out full release, I think, on Game Pass, and we never ended up playing it again. But that was
Right,
that
we
was
played,
fun for a night. We played that whole night, that one night. Me, you, and
I
Shane.
think it's still on Game Pass, actually.
Probably.
It might be worth checking that one out as another co-op. But right now we got a few, but they're far and few in between. Most of what we're playing right now is Valheim, and it's just we have 2 bosses left in Valheim.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll be
But
moving
now
on
that
to something
Shane has
else.
a PC, we can play some
A lot more.
GTFO and
Yeah.
some of the other games that we've been
Real-time
missing on.
strategies. Just some
Real-time
StarCraft
strategy.
going on.
Yeah. Command Conquer.
Yeah.
Got me a shiny new mouse and keyboard to go with it. I'm ready.
All right.
And look, it's pretty.
More PC games. I'm
Spit
ready
shine.
for it. You get yourself a gaming mouse, Shane.
That is a gaming mouse.
It's a razor.
From 1993.
Right? 1990s call chain. They want their mouse back.
You know what? My last computer was made in '85, so I'm
There we go. He's like, just one at a time, you bastards.
Made by Nick.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Made by me.
You know, that damn computer handled a lot of schoolwork and a lot of kid crap. So I give Nick credit. He built a good one.
For the time.
Yeah, for the time, yeah. But
Yep.
Yeah.
So has anybody else got anything they want to mention or bring up for the cooperative gameplay? I mean, we've touched on there's so many. I guarantee you we've not touched on some genre or subgenre because there's just so much. It's just we find ourselves currently playing, going back to 2 years later, just random stuff. Like I said, me and Nick have put in so many hours of Farming Simulator. I can't even believe we've done that.
We would put more. Well, that was 17. We would put more in the Farming Simulator 19 because we did buy that one. But we kept having an issue with the co-op. It would keep kicking us out of each other's parties and stuff. So
Yep. Yeah,
Man.
that's how much we liked it. We got 17 in a Game Pass game, didn't we?
Yep.
yeah,
And Nick was like, "We should play Farming Simulator." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not playing a dang farm simulator. I don't want to drive a tractor around all day."
Yeah.
And Nick's like, "Well, fine. If you don't want to play it, I'll be in there. Come check it out." And I'm like, "All right, I want to play with Nick, so I'm gonna download it." And I did. And we spent. I think
the
we
whole
played up
weekend
to.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the
me
week, and then the next weekend, I think too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and
And then
Nick
we're
got
like,
it
Nick's like, we should
started,
check out
and
19.
That was it.
Yeah. Nick's like, we should check out 19. I'm like, we bought it. I mean, we had to buy 19. It wasn't free. So
Yeah, it was 20. Was it $30?
It was on sale, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, it's a $60 game originally, but I think it was on
full
sale.
price.
Better came
when
with
we
Brussels
decided
sprouts.
to buy it.
Right. And we just could never keep. We could start the game, but every time it seemed like every
Yeah.
30 minutes or so, it would just kick us out.
Just
We
kicked
got
us
annoyed
out
with it.
randomly. So, unfortunately, because we were getting started. We already bought a plot of land. We got tractors and trucks, and we were getting things started. But
But the game had other plans. It's like, no, sorry, you guys can't play yet. So cool. So, anybody else want to bring up another genre or subgenre before we put this co-op discussion to bed?
No, I'd like to hear everybody's favorite co-op moments. If you got one, not just you guys, people that listen too.
There you go. Yeah, give us some of your most, one of your favorite times co-oping with a buddy. I mean, the example would be a time where Patrick come flying out of a train on Dying Light, and I got it captured and everything. Just a karate kick to the thing's head. I mean, it doesn't do anything because you have to use your weapon in that game, but it still looked magical, and it was hilarious. But tell us some of your stories, guys.
Right. All right. Well, yep. I'll comment down, go check us out on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram and just give us some of your favorite co-op moments. Let us know.
Yep.
Let us know if we didn't discuss one of your favorites as well. We'd like to, maybe it's something we haven't played. We might check it out ourselves. So,
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
yep. Go ahead and out there and subscribe to all of our content so we can get it. We post twice a week. Tuesdays game reviews and Tuesdays are general reviews and Fridays are game reviews for us. So go ahead and check that stuff out and keep looking forward to our content and we hope you enjoy it. Hope to catch you next time.